الحمد لله رب العالمين له الحمد الحسن والثناء الجميل وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So inshallah ta'ala we're going to be continuing our lessons of the Kitab al-Waraqaat by Abi Ma'ali al-Juwayni rahimahullah ta'ala. And in the previous lesson we spoke about the issue of al-ijma', consensus. And we also spoke about ta'arud al-adilla, the conflicting of the different evidences. As always we'll do a recap inshallah ta'ala and then continue with today's lesson bi'idhnillahi al-kareem. Question number 1. Who was here in the first lesson, previous lesson? Okay. He's the only one who's going to answer, huh? Watched it. Okay, Jameel. Question number 1, Abu Bakr, since you watched it. When there is conflict between different evidences in the Sharia, there's 3 different possibilities. What are they?
One is where there's 2 pieces of non-speculative evidence.
Good, which is certain evidence.
And that is generally impossible.
Okay.
And then the second is
generally impossible or impossible?
Impossible.
Impossible, good. Number 2?
And the second is one speculative and one certain.
Good.
And then the certain takes precedence.
Good.
And the third is 2 speculative.
Good.
And that branches into 4.
Good. Dhanniya, and that branches into 4. What are the 4 branches? Then?
4 branches are
عامين
وعملي
إبراهيم.
عملي حسن خاص 2 that are both
Awesome. Ahsant, very good. So mainly 2 general evidences and then 2 specific evidences, and then number 3 1 general, 1 specific, عام والمخاص, and number 3 عام من وجه وخاص من وجه for both evidences. If it is عامين, 2 general evidences, what do we do, Qazi?
So the first option is you do
Jama, good.
The second option would be nasakh. You see
Nasakh if we have
a
time frame. Good.
Then the third one would be tarjih.
Tarjih.
The third one would be
Good.
the last one would be which where you basically just reject it.
Good. Tawqif, which we stop. Good. And khasaini, we do exactly the same. A'am wa khas. Tahmid, what do we do? If one general evidence is general and one is specific, what do we do?
Specific.
Good. You specify the general one. Good. If one is general from one angle and specific from another angle, and that's for both of them, Ibrahim, what do we do? It's specified by the khas of the other one. Ahsant, very good. Jamil. Then we went through ijma'. Ijma' we said is what? What is ijma'? Yeah. Ahsant, very good. It is اتفاق مجتهد الأمة. It is the agreement of the mujtahideen of the ummah. So what goes against this is what? If there's an agreement amongst the normal people who are concerned, or who is concerning for us, the fuqaha, the ulama of fiqh. And they must be mujtahideen, people of ijtihad. And they agree to a matter, in a religious matter, and this is after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Clear? So this is ijma'. Ijma' is of 2 types. Kamran. Did you watch the video? Okay. Ahmed. Ajma' Sukuti. Sarih. Ijma' Sarih. Ijma' Sarih is what? When every mujtahid voices his opinion and says X, Y, and Z. If every mujtahid says halal, 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 then it is what? Ijma'un sarih. Sukuti means if there are 10 mujtahideen, 5 of them give their opinion, the other 5 remain quiet. What is that called? Ijma' sukuti. Good. That is what we discussed in the previous lesson. Inshallah, our brother will read and we'll continue for where we left off.
أحسن الله إليك. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم اغفر لنا ولشيخنا وللحاضرين والسامعين وللمسلمين أجمعين. قال المصنف رحمه الله: وأما الأخبار فالخبر ما
Do we do قول الصحابي? We didn't do this before.
قال المصنف رحمه الله وقول الواحد من الصحابة ليس بحجة على القول الجديد وفي القديم حجة.
Now, the author now speaks about another issue, which is the issue of قول الصحابي. If a companion of the Prophet ﷺ says something, is this an evidence for us or not? And in this discussion, we're going to go through 5 points. Number 1, تعريف الصحابي, defining what a sahabi is, or who is a sahabi, who is a companion of the Prophet ﷺ. That's number 1. تعريف الصحابي. Number 2, تقسيم المسألة, dividing the issue into parts, because we will see there is an issue regarding the statement of a companion where there is no khilaf. So what issue are we really looking into? We'll break down the whole mas'ala. Number 2. Number 3, ما له حكم الرفع, a statement of a companion which is given the ruling of al-rafa', meaning it's as good as the Prophet saying it. Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman saying something and we say it's like the Prophet said it. When do we do this? We'll give you examples inshallah and principles. Number 4 is taqleedu as-sahabi. What's the ruling of blind following a companion? If a companion tells us something and it is proven to us that the sahabi said it, can we close our eyes and just follow the sahabi without anything just because the sahabi said it? We'll look into that issue. And the last, number 5, is tatbiqat. We're going to give you certain statements of sahabi and then ask you guys to apply the principles we used and we established. So 5 issues inshaAllah ta'ala. Number 1 is what? Ta'arif, who is a sahabi. Number 2, dividing the mas'ala. Number 3, what takes the ruling of rafa', which means what the Prophet, or as good as the Prophet saying it. And number 4, taqleed as-sahabi, blind following the companions. And number 5 is tatbiqat, applications. So let's define a sahabi. Who is a sahabi? Abdul Wali. Definition, no example.
Someone who met the Prophet, they accepted his message and they died accepting his message.
Good. Anything else? مكان من بعيد. Who puts that definition? Muhaddithin or?
You mentioned it previously.
Not a hujjah. Good. وَلَوْ تَخَلَّتْ رِدَّةٌ عَلَى الْأَصَحِ. Good. So a lot of definitions of what is a sahabi. One of the best definitions given regarding who is a companion is the definition of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah ta'ala. And his kitab, Al-Isaba fi ma'rifati as-sahaba. Or fi tamyiz as-sahaba. Al-Isaba fi tamyiz as-sahaba. He has a kitab called Al-Isaba. In it, it is the best definition of a companion. He says, number 1, من لقي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. من لقي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Whoever met the Prophet is a sahabi. That's the part 1. You have to meet the Prophet. And the reason he says لقي النبي, he met the Prophet, and not رأى النبي, he saw the Prophet, is why? Because certain sahabas were blind. Example, Abdullah ibn Maktoum, he was blind. But is he a sahabi? Yes, he met the Prophet, but he didn't see the Prophet. He's still a companion. That's number 1. من لقي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Number 2, مؤمن به. He had iman in the Prophet. What goes out of this are people who met the Prophet at the time of the Prophet but never accepted Islam. Are they sahabas? No. Like Abu Jahl, Abu Talib. They accepted or they met the Prophet but they never accepted Islam. So they're not sahabas. That's number 2. Number 3, وَمَاتَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ. They have to die upon Islam. If someone met the Prophet, accepted Islam, but then apostated, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, they left the religion of Islam before they died, are they a sahabi? No. Number 4 is وَلَوْ تَخَلَّلَتْ رِدَّةٌ عَلَى الْأَصَحِ. What if they apostate, they leave the religion of Islam, but they come back to the religion of Islam before they die? Are they a sahabi? Yes. They are a sahabi. And that is the correct opinion. Al-asah means that's the most correct opinion. Ala sahih means that's a correct opinion. Okay, and that's why Ibn Hajar says, Ala al-asah, the most correct opinion. Make sense? This is the definition of the Sahabi according to the ulama al-hadith, the scholars of hadith, the most precise. According to the scholars of usuliyin, they have a slightly different definition. They necessitate meeting the Prophet for a period of time. And they say, وَطَالَتْ مُلَازَمَتُهُ لِلنَّبِي صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. They add that as an extra part. So for them it's what? An extra part. وَطَالَتْ مُلَازَمَتُهُ لِلنَّبِي صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. He has to, or this companion must have met the Prophet for a long period of time. So someone who met the Prophet in Hajjatul Wada', the last Hajj of the Prophet, how many were there? More than 100,000 met the Prophet or saw the Prophet in the last Hajj. Are all of them companions according to the usuliyin? No, because they met or they saw the Prophet from far, very brief period. Some of them only saw the Prophet for instance, then they went back to their lands, they never saw the Prophet. According to the usuliyin, they're not a sahabi. According to the muhaddithin, they are. So there is a distinction between the muhaddithin and the usuliyin. Now, ملازمته للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. وطالت ملازمته للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Which definition do we select? Muhaddithin. Muhaddithin. Okay? Regardless of whether you met the Prophet for an instance, or for 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, or 20 minutes, or you saw the Prophet every single day, you are a Sahabi. You are a Sahabi. Okay? Now, so that's number one, Ta'rif al-Sahabi. Number two, Taqsim al-Mas'ala, breaking down the issue. Now before that, the author says, وَالْقَوْلُ الْوَاحِدِ مِنَ الصَّحَابَةِ. Qawl, he uses the word qawl. And generally when the scholars, they discuss this issue, this is referred to as qawl al-Sahabi. And it is to prove or use the statement of a Sahabi as an evidence. And this is a adillatun mukhtalafun fiha, evidence that is differed upon. We have 4 evidences in the Sharia everybody agrees upon. 1, Quran. Number 2, Sunnah. Number 3, Ijma'. Number 4, Qiyas. This is what mukhtalafun fiha. Not all of its forms. Okay? However, what's the best way to say? Should I say qawl al-sahabi or madhhab al-sahabi when I refer to this evidence? Why? Good. So it's better to say madhhab al-sahabi. Is the madhhab of a sahabi a hujjah or not? That's the better way to use. Why? A madhhab includes speech and actions. Because we'll see, we also are considering the action of certain sahabas. Like the action of Ibn Umar and Ibn Abbas. Are they a hujjah or not? It's considered. So that's the discussion. So we say madhhab al-sahabi. Clear? Now another issue. We said how many evidences are agreed upon? 4. Quran, is it discussed in the book? Yes. Aam, khas, mutlaq, muqayyad, amr, nahi, all of that was the Quran. Sunnah, yes. When we saw the Sunnah and the actions of the Prophet, is it a hujjah or not? Ijma', have we discussed it? Yes. What's next? Qiyas. Why did the author not discuss Qiyas? Qiyas will come after this chapter. But before Qiyas, he chose to discuss a adilla mukhtalafun fiha. Before he discusses a dalil that is agreed upon. It would make sense for him to discuss all of the evidences that are agreed upon, and then come to the ones that are differed. But what did he do? Agreed upon, differed, and then agreed upon. Why?
Because some scholars don't consider qiyas as a method to extract the evidence.
It's not.
Yes.
We said it's agreed upon. How can you say it's different? You're right. The Zahiriyya do not agree or do not see qiyas as an evidence. But their disagreement is not even considered. According to the, again we said agreed upon. Why do we say it's agreed upon these 4? The 4 madhahib agree upon them. And nobody differs upon them. No.
Because of what we just studied, Ijma', and there's sort of difference between ijma' and
Ahsan. So, because we just discussed ijma' and we will see a form of the qawl of a sahabi actually becomes an ijma' sukuti. So it's related to the previous chapter, that's why. It's related to the previous chapter. Otherwise, it would have been better for him to say what? Discuss the Quran and then the Sunnah and then ijma' and then qiyas. And then come to qawl sahabi, shar'u man qablana. He doesn't discuss the other ones, but any other different upon, he should have brought it later on. But because it's related to ijma'. Make sense? Okay. So we say number one, it is called qawl sahabi or madhab sahabi? Madhab. That's better. Number two, why did he discuss it in this issue? So let's come to the second point. What is our second point? Taqsim al-mas'ala. We break down the issue of the madhab of a sahabi into two. Number one, فيما لا مجال للاجتهاد فيه. فيما لا مجال للاجتهاد فيه. The sahabi says something where there is no room for ijtihad. Where there is no room for ijtihad, independent reasoning. Or number two, the second sub-branch is فيما للاجتهاد مجال فيه أو ما للاجتهاد مجال فيه. What? There is room for ijtihad in it. So a sahabi will say a statement. This statement would either be something there is no room for the sahabi to strive and work hard to come to this ruling. Sometimes there isn't room. Who can give me examples? There isn't. Sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. Ilm al-ghayb. Generally, the matters of the unseen, there is no room for ijtihad. If a sahabi says the punishment of the grave is X, Y, and Z, no matter what the sahabi exerts and how much effort he exerts, he cannot come up with that conclusion. It's something from the unseen matter, there is no room for ijtihad. But for example, if a sahabi says touching your wife breaks your wudu, there is a room for ijtihad. It could have been his own effort and reasoning. Make sense? So if there is no room for ijtihad, there is no khilaf. This is a hujjah. If there is no room for ijtihad, and the sahabi said a statement where there is no place for him to derive rulings and he did it, then what do we say? It's evidence for us. We take it on board. It's a hujjah. And that's not the one that we're discussing in this chapter. Number two is if there is a place or a room for ijtihad. This is further divided into two. Number one, أَلَّا يُعْلَمُ لَهُ مُخَالِفٌ. If the sahabi is not, or there is no one known to oppose this companion. So number one, he's made a statement that is a place for ijtihad. There is room for ijtihad. Number two, it breaks down into what? Nobody opposed him. Or somebody opposed him. ما لا يعلم ألا يعلم له مخالف. ألا يعلم له مخالف. Or خالفه فيه. خالفه فيه. Somebody opposed him. So going back, the qawl of a sahabi is number one, either ijtihad or no ijtihad. The one that is ijtihad is two. There is, or somebody opposed him in the ijtihad. Or number two, nobody opposed him. So for example, Ibn Umar makes a statement and says that the Prophet, or makes a statement and says, touching your wife breaks your wudu. Is this a matter of ijtihad? Yes. And then there can be a possibility of another companion opposing him, like Abu Hurairah or Ibn Abbas or Jabir ibn Abdullah. That's one situation. Or nobody opposed him. Make sense? So two possibilities. أَلَّا يُعْلَمُ لَهُ مُخَالِفٌ. Nobody opposed him. Or خَالَفَهُ فِيهِ غَيْرُهُ. Then the one that nobody opposed him in, further break it down into two. If he's not opposed, there's two possibilities. There's two possibilities. انتشر. Nobody opposed him and this opinion became widespread. Or لم ينتشر. It did not go widespread. Shall I repeat again? Let's go from the beginning. Number one, the madhab of the sahabi is broken down into two. Number one, there's room for ijtihad or no room for ijtihad. If there is room for ijtihad, two possibilities. Somebody opposed him or somebody did not oppose him. If somebody did nobody opposed him, then either this opinion became widespread or it did not become widespread. All of these possibilities. So we're going to put numbers in front of each one, because when I give you the examples, I want you to tell me this is number 1 or number 2 or number 3 or number 4. Okay? So if it's not a matter of ijtihad, write 1 or a, alif, whatever you want. Put an alif or 1 or a under it. Let's say a, put an a there. If it is a matter of, or it's not a matter of ijtihad, it is the a for us. What's the opinion? What did we say? Is it a hujjah? It's a hujjah, no khilaf. If there is a room for ijtihad, we said it's broken down into 2, right? Number 1, somebody opposed him. And if somebody opposes him, either the opinion is widespread or not. Actually, let's go to the other one. Nobody opposes him. Sorry, he is opposed. If somebody opposes him, put a B. If somebody opposes him, put a B there. Okay? Sorry?
If someone opposes him.
Yes, put a B there. If somebody opposes him, put a B. And if somebody doesn't oppose him, it goes into 2, right? Number 1 is what? It spreads. Put a C there. Put a C. And if it doesn't spread, put a D there. So how many situations do we have? 4 situations for qawl sahabi. Make sense? For you is now to understand when somebody from the ulama of the salaf or the scholars, they mention a statement like Imam al-Nawawi or Ibn Hajar al-Haythami or anyone, which one it is for you to understand. Okay? Let's go to B. B, is it a hujjah or not? If somebody of a sahabi makes a statement in a matter of ijtihad, but somebody else opposes him. Ibn Umar has an opinion, Abu Bakr opposes him, or Abu Hurairah opposes him. Whose opinion we're going to take? Are we going to say Ibn Umar's opinion is a hujjah or not? It's not. Laysa bi hujjah. Why? Because why would we take the opinion of Ibn Umar and not Abu Hurairah? Like that, unrestrictedly. There is no value, or there's no way that we can give precedence of one sahabi over the other. They're all sahabas. Yes, some may be knowledgeable. If there's qara'in, yes. Unrestrictedly, ala al-itlaq, we can't say this is better than this. So what do we say? A statement of a sahabi by himself, and if somebody opposes him, is not a hujjah. It's not a evidence for us. So if we have a statement of Ibn Umar, then Abu Hurairah opposes him, do we say the statement of Ibn Umar is a hujjah? No, he's been opposed. Sah? Good. That's number B. C is if the opinion spreads. So nobody opposes him, but it spreads. Is it a hujjah? Naam, it's a hujjah. In fact, it is ijma' sukuti. This is the one that gets leveled up to ijma' as-sukuti. This becomes ijma' sukuti. Why? A sahabi said an opinion, nobody opposed him. All of the mujtahideen, and it became widespread. They heard it. Therefore it is what? Ijma' sukuti. So, and the last one, which is D, is what? Is it a hujjah or not? If a sahabi said something, nobody opposed him, but the opinion didn't spread. Hujjah or not? No, because it remains to be a qawl of a sahabi. But it's not a hujjah because no other people heard it. We only established the ijma' if somebody else heard it. So it remains to be his qawl. It remains to be his qawl. And why do we not use it as a hujjah? Because perhaps if somebody else heard it from the sahabas, he would have opposed him. So by itself we say it's not a hujjah. Because there is a possibility of another sahabi that if he heard it, he would have opposed him. So it's not a hujjah. No.
How do you know best is well known?
We'll come to inshallah.
Is it possible for none of the Sahaba to oppose them, or one of the Tabi'in, who's mostly the Tabi'in, to oppose them?
Yes, yes. But again, the discussion here is Sahaba, not which Tabi'in. But you're right. If a Tabi' opposes him, do we say opposing him? It's a discussion. We'll come to it inshallah. Okay? And it depends on the Sahabi, Tabi'in. Are all of the Tabi'in the same? No, they're all the same. صح? كبار التابعين are different than صغار التابعين. The fuqaha السبعة are different than the other tabi'in, so they're different levels anyways. Okay? And again, we look at also the mas'ala that he opposed to him. The mas'ala is important. صح? And even sometimes if the sahabi is an expert in a mas'ala, for example, Zayd ibn Thabit, expert in fara'id, then comes, for example, Muhammad ibn Sirin, opposes him in fara'id. With all due respect to Muhammad ibn Sirin, or even Sa'id ibn Musayyib, we say what? Zayd ibn Thabit is an expert in fara'id. The Prophet said, Afradukum Zayd. The one who knows fara'id the most is Zayd. So again, everything is taken scenario by scenario. But it's possible, it's possible. Yeah. And that can be a situation where a sahabi has a statement, a qawl, and then an imam of the madhab comes and opposes it, like Imam Malik opposes that. Sah? Possible? Yeah, possible, it's possible. Now, either because he believes the statement of the sahabi is not authentic, or it's authentic, but the evidence that you're trying to extract from it is not correct. Now, coming back to our issue, inshallah ta'ala, let's take examples and then understand which one they are. Okay? Number one, Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, he said to Urwa ibn Zubayr, he said, Tayammam likulli salati fardin. Make tayammum for every fard salah. وَإِن لَمْ يُحْدِث وَإِن لَمْ تُحْدِث. Even if you don't do hadith. So he said to Urwa ibn Zubayr, make tayammum for every salah. In the absence of water, how many times do you make tayammum? For the salah, you make tayammum. But then let's say you have tayammum and you still haven't found water. The next salah has come in. Should you make tayammum again? Even if you haven't broken your wudu? Ibn Umar, khilaf. Is it rafi'un or is mubihun as-salah? Is it different? We're just trying to give you the example. Ibn Umar said to Urwa ibn Zubayr, what did he say? Do it. Do it. Ibn Hajar al-Haythami, the Shafi'i, he says, لَمْ يُعْرَفْ لَهُ مُخَالِفٌ مِنَ الصَّحَابَةِ. We don't know of anyone who opposed Ibn Umar in this mas'ala. So, A, B, or C, or D? A, B, or C, or D?
C or D.
Huh?
Is it widespread?
It has to be one or two. You tell me.
It's a widespread amount.
You tell me.
C.
Huh? C.
C.
C. So by default, if nobody opposes or there is no one known to oppose, what is it? It's widespread. It's widespread. So if he says nobody is known to oppose him, that means it's spread and nobody's opposed him. So this is C. Make sense? Okay? Good. Another example. روي عن علي بن أبي طالب is narrated from him صلى صلاة الكسوف 6 ركعات. He prayed صلاة الكسوف 6 ركعات. وأربع سجدات. 6 ركوعات. 6 ركوع. And 4 sujud in it. Different to how we prayed. Okay? Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, لو ثبت لقلت به. If it is correct, I would have said it. Which one is it? A, B, or C? Huh? Again, think of it. First of all, is it a mas'ala of ijtihad or not? Is it a mas'ala of ijtihad or not? To come and say this salah has 4 rak'ah or 4 ruku'at and 6 sajda, is it an issue of ijtihad? Can Ali ibn Abi Talib come with his own independent reasoning and say the salah is like this? No. It is not a matter of ijtihad, it's the salah. So it's A. And then it becomes what? It's a hujjah. Make sense? Yeah. That's not a matter of ijtihad. That is a matter of ijtihad.
How then? Because Bahar, that's also ibadah, right?
But this is the salah, the essence of the salah. He's saying the salah has this many rak'at in it. You can't do ijtihad in that matter. But in the matter of whether you should purify and repeat your tayammum or not, there is a room of ijtihad.
That's from the shurut, right?
Yes, but it is a matter of ijtihad. It's like, does this break your salah or wudu or not? Ijtihad. But to say the salah, the hay'at, the how of the salah, you can't do ijtihad in the how of the salah. For example, I cannot say if the Sahabi says Salatul Maghrib is 4 rak'ah. You can't say this is ijtihad. It's the kayfiyat of the salah, it's hayat of salah.
So what's the limit of ijtihad?
It depends. There is no limit. It depends if it's the mahiyya of the salah. So one principle is anything from the matters of the unseen, there is no room for ijtihad. About Yawm al-Qiyamah, punishment in the grave, there is no ijtihad there. That's one. That's agreed upon. Then other matters, for example, like this, there is no ijtihad. If Sahabi says this is how we pray Salatul Janazah, or there's no ijtihad for it. But for example, when there is, let's say for example, in Salatul Janazah, do you raise your hands with every takbir? Ijtihad. But to say Salatul Janazah now is going to be with a sujood and a ruku' and a salam and taslim while sitting, this is now no ijtihad. Or this is a matter of no ijtihad. Because it's the how of the salah. And a Sahabi would not come and say, let me change how the salah works and let me just put in something from my own pocket and add something and put more sujood and ruku'. He can't do this ijtihad. So, make sense? Everyone? Okay, so what is this to us? A, and it is a hujjah.
Who was the person that was commenting on what Ali said?
Imam al-Shafi'i.
So
He said, لو ثبت لقلت به. If it's correct, I would have said it. So according to Imam al-Shafi'i, this statement is not correctly attributed to Ali ibn Abi Talib.
So it's the statement of Imam Shafi'i that's A for us. It's not the action of...
Sorry?
It's the statement of the Imam that's A for us, not the action. The action will not accept.
So you say that again? The statement of the Imam is what?
The statement of the Imam is A for us. It's what says
No, we're all discussing the actions of the Sahabi. The statement of the Imam, just to clarify the issue further, but what concerns us in this chapter is the statement of the Sahabi, that's it. Is it A, is it B, is it C, is it D? Do we act upon it, do we not? Is it ijma', is it not? Okay? So the statement of Imam al-Shafi'i, just to clarify. So Imam al-Shafi'i is saying, it's not correct to me, therefore I'm not acting upon it. If it is worse, I would have. So he would have seen it as a hujjah. Do you have a question?
I was going to say, how could you have reconciled what we just discussed with Daniel and Salah Muslim? Because
Salah Witr?
some opinion mentioned that you don't sit down for the second step.
You pray it like
You have three step.
Maghrib.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's, huh?
Some people pray two with the sleep.
Okay.
Others pray three straight without no triple.
Both of them are allowed.
But how?
The khilaf is, there is a khilaf whether the three, if you pray them together, should you pray it like Maghrib or should you pray it without a second tashahhud? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. But is it because how can we? Because I remember you said Salah is not ijtihad.
It depends on what of the salah, not all of the salah. For example, in the salah, this is ijtihad, where you place your hands.
No, okay.
Right? Where you place your hands, the tashahhud, you do this, you do it. Ijtihad.
Okay, yeah.
So it depends. The how of the main element of the salah to say there is an additional rak'ah, or so additional ruku' or additional sujood, the Sahabi will never do an ijtihad like this. But then to say, well, place your hands here, or place your hand here, or I saw the Prophet move it, or not, that's in the room of ijtihad. So not just because it's the salah. We also look into what part of the salah it is. Is there a room for the Sahabi to do ijtihad? Would he possibly do ijtihad or not? Yeah? Makes sense? Okay, everybody understand? Okay. Another example, inshallah. So, Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, he would take the opinion that touching your wife breaks your wudu. And Ibn Abbas, he opposed him in this issue. Which one is it for us? Huh? B. Good. It's an opinion a Sahabi made and another Sahabi opposed him. Is the opinion of Ibn Umar a hujjah for us? No. Because he's been opposed. Yeah.
What's the
Hujjah means it's an evidence. Is it a proof for us or not? Another example. It's narrated from Aisha radiallahu anha, حلت العمرة, that she allowed and said it's permissible to do Umrah the whole year, except for 4 days. يوم عرفة, the day of Arafah, ويوم النحر, the day of Al-Nahr, and the 2 days after it. So he said it's permissible to do Umrah throughout the year except this 4 days. Except for the Umrah, not Hajj, Umrah. Okay? Then Imam al-Nawawi, he comments and he says, وَهَذَا الْأَثَرُ بَاطِلٌ, and this evidence of Aisha is incorrect and not proven. وَلَا يُعْرَفُ عَنْهَا, and it's not known from her. وَلَمْ يَذْكُرْهُ أَحَدٌ مِمَّنْ يُعْتَمَدُ قَوْلُهُ. And nobody whose opinion is considerable has mentioned it. وَلَوْ صَحَّ لَكَانَ. If it's correct, it would have been قَوْلَ صَحَابِيٍّ لَمْ يَشْتَهِرْ فَلَا حُجَّةَ فِيهِ عَلَى الصَّحِيحِ. And if it was correct, then it would have been an opinion of a companion that was not widespread, that was not, and this is the last part, that was not widespread. فَلَا حُجَّةَ فِيهِ. It's not an evidence according to the most correct opinion. D. Because why? It's an evidence, but then there's not widespread. So we say it's not a hujjah. Why? If somebody heard it, they could have opposed Aisha's ijtihad. Next example. It's not permissible for a person who's muhdith, he's done hadathan akbara, major hadith, major impurity, that he touches the mushaf. And this, when it was mentioned, Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, he commented. He said, رُوِيَ عَنْ عَلِي. This was narrated from Ali, and Ibn Umar, and Salman al-Farisi. وَلَمْ يُعْرَفْ لَهُ مُخَالِفٌ. And nobody opposed him. A, B, C, or D? C. So it becomes ijma'un sukuti. Ijma'un sukuti. Why? Issue of ijtihad or not? It is. Was it opposed? No. And did it spread? Yes. By default it spread, unless they mention it hasn't spread or somebody opposed it. Now, another example, and then we'll stop. 7 people at the time of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, they killed a man in Sana'a, in Yemen. And when this news reached to Umar, and the mas'ala, this is discussed in the Kutub of Jinayat and Fiqh, which is if 7 people conspire to kill one person, and they're found guilty, the 7, should we execute all 7, even if one of them actually killed? Everybody understand the mas'ala? 7 people conspired to kill one person, but one person actually killed. But 7 of them conspired, were actively taking part. Who would have been killed in exchange? Mas'ala. Umar ibn Khattab, when this news reached him, he said, لَوْ تَمَالَأَ عَلَيْهِ أَهْلُ صَنْعَاء لَقَتَلْتُمْ بِهِ. If the whole city of Sana'a, they got together in order to conspire to kill one person, I would just kill the whole of the people of Sana'a. Okay? Which one is this? A, B, C, or D? C. It's a matter of ijtihad, and it is widespread, and nobody opposed him. Nobody opposed. And again, how do you know it's widespread? Number one, he's a Khalifa. By default, the actions of Khulafa are what? Widespread, unless there is a opposite opinion. Make sense? And again, this is how you practice on the statement of the ulama and determine the qawl of the sahabi. Is it a hujjah, is it not, is it ijma' or not, etc. Let's go to the third issue, inshaAllah ta'ala. مَا لَهُ حُكْمُ الرَّفْعِ. If a sahabi makes an opinion, and we said it is generally in the matters of ijtihad, it takes the ruling of al-rafa'. So if a sahabi says this is the punishment of the grave, this is what's going to happen in the hereafter, we say it is what? It is al-mawqufu lafzan wal-marfu'u hukman. Al-mawqufu lafzan means on the statement we say it's the sahabi statement. But the hukum of it is what? Marfu'. It's as good as the Prophet saying it. So even though we don't say the Prophet said it because it's the Sahabi saying it, but there is no way for the Sahabi to come with this statement, we say it's as good as if the Prophet said it. So for example, if a Sahabi says the punishment of the hellfire for those who drink khamr is X, Y, and Z, Sahabi saying it. Okay? Sahabi could have not sat in a room and thought and come up with this. There is no room for ijtihad. We say it's as good as the Prophet saying it. He must have heard it from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is A for us now. Okay. Now here, this is all of the matters of the unseen by default and things that have no place for ijtihad. There is an exception, the scholars they mention, except certain Sahabas who have taken certain knowledge from the Israeliyat, from the books of the Banu Israel. For them, they are not going to be given this ruling. We say that's the statement of the Sahabi himself, but it doesn't take the ruling of the Prophet saying it. Example. Who is the Sahabi who took from the Israeliyat? Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu. He was seen to have 2 big scrolls on the day of Hunayn, I believe, or Tabuk, one of the battles, and he was reading from the books of the Israeliyat. So something about unseen knowledge, he could have taken it from there. Okay? Yeah. Some scholars, they say Umar as well. Yeah. And some scholars say Umar because of the statement of the Prophet, Al-Mutahawwikuna ya Umar. That statement now. Now first.
What about the Sahaba who came who were Yahudi or Nasara before?
Good question. The Sahabi was a Jew or a Christian before or not? Allah Alam. It's a good question, mashallah. And some people restrict these to 2 people, but it's not only 2 people. It can be more. Some of them they say it's Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, and there's another Sahabi, I forgot his name. But they say it's only these 2, but we say no. Anyone who's known to take from the Israeliyat, his statement will not be given the ruling of marfu' hukm. Now, this one category of marfu' hukman. There is another category of Sahabas that take the same ruling of the statement of the Sahaba. If the Sahabi says something like min as-sunnati kada wa kada, from the Sunnah is X, Y, and Z, then we say this is marfu' hukman. He's clearly attributing to the Prophet. So we say it's marfu' hukman. Or he says umirna bi kada wa kada, we were commanded to do X, Y, and Z. Or nuhina an kada wa kada, we were prohibited from X, Y, and Z. Any statement of a Sahabi like this is what? Automatically given a promotion to the ruling of the Prophet. It's like the Prophet said it. We don't say the Prophet said it, we say it's similar to the Prophet saying it, or as good as the Prophet saying it. Or someone saying كُنَّا نَفْعَلُ فِي عَهْدِ النَّبِي صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم كَذَا وَكَذَا. We used to do X, Y, and Z in the time of the Prophet. We say what? It is marfu' hukman as well. Example is Jabir ibn Abdullah, he said كُنَّا نَأْكُلُ لُحُومَ الْخَيْلِ عَلَى عَهْدِ النَّبِي صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. The Prophet Jabir ibn Abdullah, he said we used to eat horse meat at the time of the Prophet. Imam al-Nasa'i narrated in his Sunan. So that he said كُنَّا نَفْعَلُ, we used to do this at the time of the Prophet. This statement of Jabir is what? As good as the Prophet saying it. It's marfu' hukman. We've elevated it to the ruling of marfu'. Okay? That is the second or the third issue that we discussed. The fourth issue is taqleedu as-sahabi. If a Sahabi says something, are we allowed to blind follow him? Example, Ibn Abbas, he said, يَجُوزُ التَّضْحِيَةُ بِالدِّيكَةِ. Ibn Abbas, he said, it's allowed for you to slaughter a chicken or a rooster for Eid al-Adha. Ibn Abbas said, it's allowed for you to slaughter Eid al-Adha. What do we slaughter? Bahimatul an'am, right? Cattle. Ibn Abbas said, it's allowed for you to slaughter a rooster. Brother's getting happy, huh? Saving some money. If you slaughter a rooster, Ibn Abbas said. Hypothetically, if Ibn Abbas mentioned this statement, are we going to say it's a hujjah for us and we can blind follow Ibn Abbas in it because it's a statement of Sahabi? Why not? Let me reverse the tables. If Imam Malik said something, okay, are you allowed to blind follow Imam Malik? You're not allowed to blind follow one of the Imams of the Madhahib. Huh? Huh? If you're Ami, so you can then. So then, Ammatul Nas, they can slaughter roosters, inshallah, yeah? This Eid. Yes? Huh?
You bring it back to 4 steps.
4 steps, which is?
Did he uphold, was it widespread?
So regardless of that discussion, if a Sahabi says something, am I allowed to close my eyes and just take it and act upon it?
Yes.
And it's authentic. Huh?
You have to look at the context for it first, and then
Very good, Ahsan. The closest answer. So there's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars. The correct and the qawl of the muhaqqiqeen is, it's not a hujjah. It's not a hujjah. A statement of a Sahabi will not be blind followed right away, even if it's proven to be authentic. Why? Because we don't know the conditions of when the Sahabi said it, or the i'tibarat, the context and the siyaq and why he said that. Maybe Ibn Abbas gave that fatwa, correct. You can slaughter a chicken, but maybe at the time when he said this fatwa, there was no rooster, there's no cattle in his city. So just because the Sahabi said it, we're not going to act upon it because we don't know the context behind why he said it completely. Okay? Now,
As an army, you're not going to understand it anyways.
what do you mean?
So the reason why we need taqlid in the first place is because you don't have tools
So,
to understand the siyaq and whatnot. So for us to say that we have to look at the context, we're not able to in the first place.
yeah, it's not about the Ami himself, it's just it's the discussion of the mas'ala. We're not discussing it from the angle of the Ami, whether he's going to blindfold or not. We're discussing the mas'ala itself. Does it make sense?
So if an individual here goes to taqlid in the Sahabi,
Okay, he's not allowed to. But he's allowed to do it for the Imams of the Madhab. Now question, who's more righteous, Imam of the Madhab or the Sahabi? Sahabi, no doubt about it. Why can he do taqlid of the Imam of the Madhab, not the Sahabi? It's not discussing the grading of each people. No doubt about it, a Sahabi is much higher than an Imam of the Madhab. But we understand certain things about the statement of the Imams that we don't understand about the statement of the Sahabi. For example, you go to the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah, you see statements of Sahabas and statements of Sahabas. If some of them are authentic, are we going to just take them on board and act upon them? If we don't know the context behind it? No. But the Imams, the madhahib of the Imams, we know the context behind it. We know why the Imam said it and what he was doing and this and that and that. And the whole madhab of the Imam is makhtoom, it's served. It's got books and books and books and it's been worked on. And it's been transmitted and transmitted. So we know the context behind the statement of the Imam. For that reason, we can do taqlid of the Imam of the madhab, but not of a Sahabi. If we have enough information about it, yes. If we have the reason why he said it, etc., yes. But by itself, just having a statement and opening a book and reading the statement of Sahabi, I'm going to implement it. It's going to cause a lot of problems. Make sense? Which part is the ishkal?
so I can't taqlid of Sahabi because I don't know the context.
Sah.
But I'm an army anyway, so I'm not going to understand the context, even if they're into Arba'ah.
Say again?
Because I'm an army,
Yeah.
I'm not going to understand.
Good. You don't understand the context of the Sahabi anyways, and you don't understand the context of the Imam al-Arba'ah.
Yeah.
But the only difference is, even if you take the statement of the Imam al-Arba'ah without context, it has a context behind it.
Okay.
It's been worked on. So the statement of the Imam, if it comes to you, it's already been worked on.
Yes.
But the statement of, regardless, you're right. As an Ami, you're not going to know the context of this or this. But you taking the statement of a Imam, it's not just a statement, it's been worked and worked and worked, and there's people. No, clear? Okay. We go back to the issue, inshallah ta'ala. The last issue that we're going to discuss is, or we've discussed the tatbiqat, the different examples, walillahi alhamd. Now, when it comes to the qawl al-sahabi, the Imam or the author, he said, قَوْلُ الْوَاحِدْ مِنَ الصَّحَابَةِ لَيْسَ بِحُجَّةٍ. The statement of one of the companions is not a hujjah. عَلَى غَيْرِهِ, on the other sahabi. If a statement is known and there's a mukhalif, what did we say? It's not a hujjah. عَلَى الْقَوْلِ الْجَدِيدِ. And the new opinion. The new opinion is what? Of Imam al-Shafi'i. So he says the new opinion of Imam al-Shafi'i, that if there's one sahabi that opposes another sahabi, that sahabi's opinion is not a hujjah. But وَفِي الْقَدِيمِ hujjah. In the old qawl of Imam al-Shafi'i, it is a hujjah. If Ibn Umar said something and Ibn Abbas opposed him, he said we would still take the statement of Ibn Abbas or Ibn Umar. It is a hujjah. What's qawl qadim and what's qawl jadid of Imam al-Shafi'i? Why is the two aqwal?
Or why? I think that's what the new one was.
No, what is it?
So now he believes it's.
We know the opinion which is new, but when do you say this is new? What is new? What is old? Exactly. Before he went to Egypt, it is called al-qawl al-qadim or al-madhab al-qadim, the old madhab of Imam al-Shafi'i. Anything he took after or he mentions after Egypt, then that is al-qawl al-jadid. And how do we determine what is before Egypt and after Egypt? is based on the students that bring us those aqwal. Okay? And again, this is a discussion and we don't want to go into detail. But there are certain students of his, if they mention it, then we know it's automatically madhab al-qadim. And if these students are narrating his opinions, that it is madhab al-jadid. Just like a normal teacher today. Sometimes you have certain students who took in a certain city and then Shaykh he changes his madhab, he goes to another city, and there's other students narrating it. If he takes from the first group of students, what do I know? That's the old madhab, and that's the new madhab. Generally, not all the time. Because there can be a student from the old madhab that has the new opinion as well. Have I confused you guys? Okay. Coming back. So, Imam al-Shafi'i's old opinion was what? It is a hujjah. If someone from the Sahaba was opposed by another Sahabi, it is a hujjah. And that is an opinion of the scholars they mention. And some of the scholars they say that's the madhab of Imam Malik, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Ahmad, and Imam al-Shafi'i ala al-Qadim. And that is also the opinion of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala in his kitab I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in. And they use general evidences from the Quran in order to prove this point. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala in his kitab I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in, he mentions how a statement of a Sahabi that was opposed by another Sahabi is a hujjah min 40 wajhan, from 40 different angles. And to be honest, his statement is very strong. His argument is very strong. And I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in is a masterpiece of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala. Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala would say it is Kitab al-Islam, is the book of Islam. And the book I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in is a must read for any person who is studying usul al-fiqh. Again, it's an advanced book, you wouldn't read it right away, but you build and you progressively go towards it. And it has usul al-fiqh in it. It has maqasid al-sharia, the objectives of the sharia. It has many aspects, that qawa'id and principles that are qawa'id of many things that he mentions in it. And it's very, very powerful. It's called what? I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in an Rabb al-Alamin. I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in, the superior scholars, the great scholars, al-Muwaqqi'in, those who signed off, an Rabb al-Alamin, on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning they are giving verdicts. If you give a verdict, what are you signing off? On behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that this is the opinion of Allah in His religion. So that book is a very, very powerful book. And one of my teachers, Sheikh, or one of the teachers I took knowledge from, Sheikh Mashur Hassan, he said there is no book, I heard him say this, there is no book that developed my skill set in fiqh like that book. He said when I read that book, my skill set, my ability to extract rulings became 10x. It became massively, it jumped. It's a very, very powerful book, and Sheikh Mashur Hassan, he has a tahqiq on the book anyways. He authenticated the book, and if you want, and there is the tab'a of Dar Alam al-Fawaid, which is the new tab'a, that's the one I suggest you go back to, but I would still say buy the version of Sheikh Mashur, because in his muqaddimah, Sheikh Mashur, he expands on a lot of issues of usul al-fiqh, very, very beneficial points inshallah. So have both copies, Dar Alam al-Fawaid and the version of Sheikh Mashur. Benefit from the muqaddimah of Sheikh Mashur, but take the Dar Alam al-Fawaid for the matan of I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in. Let's go back to the point. The point is, a group of scholars, they say it is a hujjah. If a sahabi is opposed by another sahabi, it is a hujjah. Okay, and they use general evidences. And one of the evidences that Imam al-Shafi'i used to use was the statement of the Prophet, which is Ashabi kan nujum. My companions are like the stars. Wherever you find the statement, take it. But this hadith is weak. So for him, he used to believe the hadith is authentic. Therefore he said, I'm going to take any statement of a sahabi, even if he's opposed. But then it became apparent to him that this hadith is weak, and then he said no. Does that make sense? No. The second opinion is, it's not a hujjah, that's the opinion of Al-Shafi'i in his Madhab al-Jadid, and many other scholars as well, from the Mujtahideen, and from the Usuleen as well, like Al-Ghazali and Amidi, and other than them. Now, another important point about the qawl of the Sahabi. We said the qawl of the Sahabi is what? Hujjah. In certain cases, and not a hujjah in certain cases. In certain cases it becomes ijma'un sukuti. There is a condition which is very important for you to accept a qawl of Sahabi, which is عدم مخالفة النص. For the qawl of the Sahabi to not oppose a nas, a clear evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah. If it does, we will still not take the qawl of a Sahabi. Example, that Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, إِنَّ الْجُنَبَ لَا يَتَيَمَّمْ. That a person who does janaba, or is in the state of janaba, sexual impurity, will not perform tayammum. This opposes the nas, the ayah in the Quran. إِن كُنتُمْ جُنُبًا فَاطَّهَرُوا. And then the ayah mentions the tayammum. So it opposes the nas. We say we're not going to take the statement of Umar radiallahu anhu because it's in opposition to the clear evidence. So the statement of his sahabi is a hujjah, except if it goes against a clear evidence in the Quran. Now, also, like we said, the madhab of the sahabi includes what? Qawl and a qawl. Who can give an example of the qawl of sahabi? We've mentioned a few, but examples of any sahabi statement. Which is asbigh al-wudu. That part is from Abu Hurairah, they say.
Ibn Abbas, when he said he created 4 things with his hand.
Na'am. خلق الله أربعة أشياء. Allah created 4 things with his hand. How many evidences? For example, the statement of Ibn Umar, إذا أمسيت فلا تنتظر المساء. The statement of Ali ibn Abi Talib, حدث الناس بما يعرفون. Speak to the people what they know. The statement of Umar ibn Khattab, إن الله يرفع بهذا الكتاب أقواما. Allah raises with this book, the Quran, nations, and puts down many statements of the Sahaba. An action of the Sahaba, an example would be what is narrated in by Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, وَأَمَّا Ibn Abbas وَهُوَ مُتَيَمِّمٌ. Ibn Abbas, he led the salah whilst he was in the state of tayammum. This is describing the action of Ibn Abbas. Action. Okay, this is a fi'al of a sahabi. Both of them, the statement and the action, are called madhab, the madhab of a sahabi. Yeah. Question? Somebody had raised their hands. Question? Okay. Let's continue with the next topic, inshallah.
أحسن الله إليك. وأما الأخبار فالخبر ما يدخله الصدق والكذب. والخبر ينقسم إلى قسمين: آحاد ومتواتر. فالمتواتر ما يوجب العلم، وهو أن يروي جماعة لا يقع التواطؤ على الكذب من مثله إلى أن ينتهي إلى المخبر عنه، ويكون في الأصل عن مشاهدة أو سماع لا عن اجتهاد.
Now, so the author now speaks about something else. What he speaks about is the evidences and the categorization of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ into Ahad and Mutawatir. Mutawatir means what? Multitude narrations. Ahad means singular narrations. And really this is where the overlap happens between the science of Hadith, Mustalah al-Hadith, and Usul al-Fiqh. There is an overlap. And in the very first lesson we did mention one of the ways that the Usul al-Fiqh comes about is it borrows knowledge from the Arabic language and it borrows knowledge from Mustalah al-Hadith. This is what it does. This mabhath, this discussion really shouldn't be in the books of Usul al-Fiqh. It should be where? Mustalah al-Hadith. Why is it in the books of Usul al-Fiqh? Who was the first one to introduce issues of Mustalah al-Hadith in Usul al-Fiqh, and why did he do that? Homework. Class? Find out for me who is the first person to bring masail of Mustalah al-Hadith, Hadith, into the books of Usul al-Fiqh, and why? Okay? That's your homework. Coming back to the issue. We have it now in Waraqaat, so we can't escape it. Let's discuss it. This issue of al-Khabar, and al-Khabar, what's against it is what? Insha. Khabar we said is what? What's Khabar? News. But what did we say in Usul al-Fiqh? ما يحتمل الصدق والكذب لذاته. Whatever has the possibility of truth and lie by itself. Meaning, if I say I went to the shop yesterday, what is this? Khabar. You can say true and you can say false. If I say, Akhi, sit down, ijlis, is this khabar? No, because you can't say true or false to it. What is it? Insha. I say, bring me water. Can you say true? No. You say false. No. What do you say? You either act or you don't. What is that called? Insha. Okay? Khabar is what? What holds the possibility of truth and falsehood? Bidati, and some scholars don't even use the word bidati. In any case. وَأَمَّا الْأَخْبَارُ, he says, فَالْخَبَرُ مَا يَدْخُلُ الصِّدْقَ وَالْكَذِبِ. We mentioned that. Khabar is what? What has the possibility of truth and lie. You can say true and you can say false to it. وَالْخَبَرُ يَنْقَسِمُ إِلَى قِسْمَيْنِ. Khabar is divided into two. Write it down. So there's khabar and then there's two arrows from it. Number one is mutawatir. And number two is al-ahad. Al-mutawatir and al-ahad. Al-mutawatir, you can put in brackets multitude narration. Al-ahad is singular narrations. Not one, singular. What we're going to discuss about every of these two categories or both of these categories is three things. Number one, ta'rif, the definition of each. We're going to define mutawatir and define ahad. Number two, hukum, the ruling of it. Hukum of mutawatir and the hukum of ahad. Number three, anwa'ihi, its types. The types of mutawatir and the types of ahad. Clear? Let's start with mutawatir. What is the definition of mutawatir? The scholars, they define mutawatir with the conditions of mutawatir. So they define it with its conditions. Is this the best way to define things? Not necessarily. But let's go with what the Shaykh says. He says, وَالْخَبَرُ يَنْقَسِمُ إِلَى قِسْمَيْنِ. Khabar is two types, ahad wa mutawatir. We mentioned that. فَالْمُتَوَاتِرُ مَا يُوجِبُ الْعِلْمِ وَهُوَ أَنْ يَرْوِي جَمَاعَةٌ لَا يَقَعُ تَوَاطُؤُ عَلَى الْكَذِبِ. To have التواطؤ على الكذب أو تواطؤهم على الكذب. التواطؤ. Not تواطؤهم. Okay. لا يقع التواطؤ على الكذب من مثلهم إلى أن ينتهي المخبر عنهم ويكون في الأصل عن مشاهدة أو سماع لا عن اجتهاد. So four things. The first definition or the condition of mutawatir is it has to be jama'ah. He says عن جماعة أو يرويه جماعة. It has to be a group of people. Meaning, if one person narrates something, do we call it mutawatir? No, it has to be a group. Now there is a discussion amongst the scholars of Mustalah al-Hadith, which is, what is this group? What is the group? Yeah, for them to be mutawatir.
Some ulama mention more than three, some say more than 10.
What's the correct opinion?
Three.
Three. Why not two?
It comes in the ahad. It's a category in the ahad.
Sometimes three is not even a jama'ah. It doesn't reach tawatur. Four? But 4 plus. Sometimes it's 50 narrating but still not mutawatir. Again, there is no clear evidence for this. A lot of them, they go through ayat of the Quran and they use ayat of the Quran to say this is the had of tawatur. Arba'ina rajulan mentioned in the Quran, they say the mutawatir is 40 because of it. It has nothing to do with mutawatir. It's the story of Fir'aun and Musa. It has nothing to do with mutawatir, but they say Arba'in was mentioned, so it is mutawatir is 40. And some say 3, some say 10. In any case, ikhtilaf, there's a khilaf. The correct opinion is we don't mention it with a amount. There is no amount. The amount is ما يستحيل تواطؤهم على الكذب. The amount is when it reaches the amount of impossibility of them conspiring a lie, that is the amount. Regardless of whether that is 3 or 10 or 5, 15 or 50 or 100. Okay? The amount is what? The inability to conspire a lie. That is the amount. But again, the scholars, they say it has to be 3 plus. Because the other categories of hadith are what? 1 and 2 and 3. So it has to be 3 plus for it to be mutawatir. And that's the correct opinion. 3 plus, but without a specific limit for us to say this is mutawatir. But minimum 3 plus. Okay? That is jama'ah, number 1. Number 2, يستحيل اتفاقهم على الكذب أو تواطؤهم على الكذب. It's impossible for them to conspire a lie. Impossible for them to conspire a lie. That's the second condition. The third condition is في كل طبقة. In every طبقة. Now طبقة is different to the word generation. It's every level or stage of narration. In one generation you can have more than one طبقة. And again, this is a statement or a terminology of the scholars of hadith. It's hard for me to explain unless you delved into Mustalah al-Hadith. But it is a stage, meaning you guys here are all considered the same tabaqa. Why? You've taken from the same teacher. You're the same tabaqa. If somebody takes from you guys, they are a next tabaqa. In every tabaqa, there have to be a group, and impossible for them to conspire a lie. And number 4 he mentions, which is وَإِسْنَادُهُ إِلَى أَمْرٍ مَحْسُوسٍ. It has to go back to a tangible source or origin. It's tangible, mahsus, meaning hearing or seeing, that is tangible. Okay? And as the Shaykh he says, لَا عَنْ اجْتِهَاد, not out of independent reasoning. It has to go back to a tangible source, meaning something you can touch, feel and sense. I'll give you an example of mutawatir. Mutawatir is certain information we know in this universe. For example, World War II, did it happen? Who's seen it? Huh? You've seen it? Why do you believe in it?
Because it's unlikely to be a lie.
Why?
There's too much evidence from different people.
Ahsan. Too many sources coming to us, it becomes impossible for them to conspire. I can say maybe one person lied, the second person lied, the third. Everybody says it in history books is mentioned. Even though I didn't see it, you didn't see it, it is what? Mutawatir. The sanad, the origin of it, is it shay'un mahsus? Yes. The people who witnessed it, the people who saw it, it is a matter that is witnessed. I'll give you another example. Let's say, for example, an imam, may Allah protect all of the imams, the imam of this masjid, he gives a khutbah in Jum'ah. We all witnessed him. Or, let's say, some people witnessed him and the imam fainted. Someone comes to you and says, the imam of Masjid Furqan this Jum'ah, he was giving a khutbah and he fainted. Is that mutawatir? But then another person comes, another person comes, another person comes. It reaches a point where it's 5 brothers, and 5 brothers who were trustworthy. And you know they would never lie. And one brother, he came from a different part of London, and the other brother was local, and the other brother is a bit far away. And all of these brothers, they don't know one another. They've never met one another. One of them is an uncle, one of them is a brother like your age, and one of them is old. What is the child comes and tells you? It's impossible for these different people to conspire a lie. What is this? Mutawatir. And it is what? Goes back to something they saw. I heard the imam say this. Okay? So it goes back to a shay'un mahsus. What goes against this if it's the thing that goes back to is not something tangible? Like, it's an idea in their mind. Ijtihad. It's an ijtihad. If somebody makes an ijtihad, you cannot bring that down and say that ijtihad is mutawatir. So I say this is my ijtihad, this is my opinion. Or I have an ijtihad, a matter that I mention. I write it in my book. You've not seen me say it, you've not seen me act upon it, but I put it down in my book. Ijtihad. And then this ijtihad gets passed down generation, and many people take it from my book. Is this called mutawatir? No, it's in my book. It's not mutawatir. It's still one source. And it's ijtihad. It's not something that is tangible. I think there's details to it. I don't want to confuse you guys too much. But these are the 4 conditions. Number 1, jama'ah. Number 2, impossible for them to conspire a lie. Number 3, 5, or it goes back to anything tangible. Before that, it has to be the same amount in every single tabaqa. In every single tabaqa. Okay? The ruling of it, of something that is mutawatir, is yufidul ilm al-daruri. It benefits us certain knowledge. And we discussed this when we were discussing ilmun daruri and ilmun muktasab. In the beginning, right? We said one of the ways to come about of Ilm that is certain knowledge is what? Mutawatir. So mutawatir is something that will benefit you certain knowledge. An example of mutawatir in our religion is what? The Quran. The Quran is mutawatir. And there's certain ahadith, very few of them that are mutawatir. We do not even need to have a discussion. Those ahadith are not even discussed in Mustalah al-Hadith, whether they're authentic or not. It's not even a discussion. Like the Quran, it's not even a discussion. All of it is authentic. It's not even a discussion. In hadith, what we grade to be authentic or not is what? Ahad. That's the discussion. Okay? So, ta'arif we discussed, hukum we discussed, what's next? Types, anwa'. Mutawatir is two types. Lafzi and ma'nawi. Mutawatir in terms of its wording and mutawatir in terms of its meaning. Meaning, sometimes the hadith by its word has come to us from the Prophet in multitude narrations. Impossible for them to conspire a lie. The wording itself. Like the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Man kadaba alayya muta'ammidan." Whoever lies upon me intentionally, let him take his place in the hellfire. This hadith is mutawatir lafzan. The wording is mutawatir. Meaning, this hadith has come to us through so many narrations, we say it's impossible for it to be a lie. The hadith itself. Okay? An example of a hadith that has come to us, but the wording is not mutawatir, but the concept of it is mutawatir. Because it's come in different wordings. Is like the ahadith of the shafa'ah of the Prophet, al-uzma, the great intercession. The ahadith that relate to the punishment of the grave. The ahadith that relate to the hawd, the fountain of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All of this is what? Mutawatir in terms of its meaning. It's come to us in different wordings and different ways that it's impossible for it to be a lie. But that specific wording is not mutawatir. Make sense? And also seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. And al-mashu ala al-khuffayn, wiping over the socks. All of this is mutawatir. Ma'nan, wording. Okay? That's mutawatir. Mutawatir is not even a discussion. It's already proven. Ahad is the discussion. What is the definition of ahad? Singular. Ta'rif, definition. Did the Shaykh define it? Huh? That's not the definition, right? That's the hukum of it. Good. ما ليس بمتواتر. Anything that is not mutawatir is ahad. خلاص?
Is that a good definition?
No. We'll take it from the Imam, inshallah. The Sunnah says, what did he say that, right? He didn't say it. You said it from yourself. Yeah. Anything that is not mutawatir. Anything that is not mutawatir is ahad. Anything that does not satisfy those four conditions is ahad. Not the best definition, but you get the idea. So, ahad, that is the definition. What's the next thing? Hukum. He gives us the hukum. He says, yujibul amal wa la yujibul ilm. It benefits us, amal, action, that we would act upon it. But it does not benefit us, ilm. So, if something is proven to us through ahad, are we going to act upon it? What does he say? Yes. Sorry, now we act upon it. But does it give us knowledge? He says what? No. Ahad does not give us knowledge, or does it give us knowledge? Are you sure? So what the Shaykh he means here, the Musannif, because his aqidah is what? Of the Asha'ira, he does not believe it to benefit ilm, yaqini. For him it benefits us ilmun nadari, or dhanni. It benefits us speculative knowledge. So it doesn't benefit ilm. What does it benefit according to him? Dhann, speculative. Meaning there is a possibility for that knowledge to be wrong. There is a possibility for it to be wrong. Okay. And the correct opinion, to summarize, and again there is a big discussion here, one of the good books you can go back to is the book of Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala, Hujjiyat Khabar al-Ahad, the evidence of Khabar al-Ahad. We say it sometimes, it generally, yes, it benefits us dhann. But sometimes through qara'in, through external evidences, this khabar al-ahad can become so strong, it reaches the level of mutawatir in terms of the hukum. It benefits us, ilmun daruri as well, with the qara'in, with external evidences. But yes, if it does or it is proven to us, we will take it and implement it without looking at whether it is in the chapter of Aqidah or it's in the chapter of Hukum. We'll take it anyways. Now the Ash'ara are different here. What do they say? An issue of Khabar al-Ahad in Ahkam, we take it. In Aqidah for them, they say no. Okay? The argument is what? You can act upon it in any way. If it is proven to us, we will act upon it. What's the evidences? Many evidences. From it is the hadith of Mu'adh. Mu'adh ibn Jabal, when he was sent to Yemen, how many people was Mu'adh? One. One is definitely ahad, right? Not mutawatir. He by himself went and he sent the news to the people. And those people that came and heard the news of or the statements of Mu'adh, they never said to Mu'adh, oh, go back to Medina and bring more people. When you become mutawatir, then come to us. Did they say that? No, they said no problem. Your one person will accept it from you. So, likewise, when the Prophet ﷺ sent his letter to the different kings and rulers, how many messengers took the letter in a lot of the cases? One. Hatib ibn Abi Balta'i was one. Different people, there were one. By themselves, they went and delivered the letter. The non-Muslims never said, you're ahad, go bring more people. They accepted it from one messenger. So, even the story of the qibla changing. The man who came and informed the people in Masjid Quba, and this is not the incident in Qiblatain, this is when it happened in Quba, and the hadith of the Prophet. One man came and said it, the Qibla has changed. Whilst they were praying, they changed it. So this is what? If news of one man. They never said we need more people to inform us. So Khabar al-Ahad is implemented in Aqidah and in actions. The evidence that's implemented in both without a distinction is the hadith of Mu'adh. فَلْيَكُنْ أَوَّلَ مَا تَدْعُوهُمْ إِلَيْهِ شَهَادَةً أَن لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ, which is Aqidah. Then إِنْهُمْ أَطَاعُوكُمْ لِذَلِكَ أو أَطَاعُوكَ لِذَلِكَ, if they hear you and obey, what is it? Salah and Zakah and Hajj, Ahkam. Ahkam and Aqidah, no distinction. Okay? So the point is, it's accepted. So يُجِبُ الْعَمَل, that's what he means. But for him, if you ask him عمل في العقيدة أو في الأحكام, what would he say? He would say أحكام only. He never expanded on it, but he just kept it vague. But يُجِبُ العلم, we say that's correct. Because it doesn't يُجِبُ العلم ضروري, يُجِبُ الظن. But sometimes, even there's a question mark. The adhan can reach a level of daruri with the qara'in that comes with it. Okay? Now, so this is hukum of al-ahad. What is it? Is a hujjah. The hukum of ahad is a hujjah if it is authentic. If it's not authentic, of course not. We're not going to implement a hadith that is ahad, that is not a authentic hadith. The types of ahad. Now we're going to look at the types of ahad not from the angle of the muhaddithin, usuliyin. Okay? And the Shaykh, he divides it into two, musnad and mursal. Ahad is two types, musnad and mursal. Musnad and mursal. Now if you read inshallah the next passage, then we'll comment inshallah.
أحسن الله إليك. والآحاد هو الذي يوجب العمل ولا يوجب العلم، وينقسم إلى قسمين، مرسل ومسند. فالمسند ما اتصل إسناده، والمرسل ما لم يتصل إسناده، فإن كان من مراسيل غير الصحابة فليس بحجة إلا مراسيل سعيد بن المسيب، فإنها فتشت فوجدت مسانيد.
Now, so the Shaykh, he breaks down ahad. He's defined ahad. He hasn't defined ahad. He's given us the hukum of ahad. Then given the categorization of ahad into mursal and musnad. And then he's defined musnad. He says musnad mattasala isnaduhum. In the science of hadith, again, this is a definition of a usuli. The definition of a muhaddith to the word musnad would be what? the definition of musnad according to the muhaddithin?
Connection of hadith.
Huh?
This is something that's not quite impossible.
Good. Anything that combines between al-raf' and al-ittisal. It's connected chain of narration and it's attributed to the Prophet. They call it a musnad. The scholars of hadith, if a hadith is attributed to the Prophet with a connected chain of narration, it's called musnad. According to the usuliyin and the Shaykh, the definition of Imam al-Haramain, what does he say? مَتَّصَلَ إِسْنَادُهُ. He only has one of those two conditions. For him, as long as it's connected, it is musnad. But the correct and right way is what? Two conditions need to be found: connected and attributed to the Prophet. In any case, this is a discussion of the usuliyin, so we'll go with his definition. Anything that has a connected chain is called musnad. Mursal, what did he say? مَا لَمْ يَتَّصِلْ إِسْنَادُهُ. Anything has a disconnected chain is mursal. So connection is called musnad and disconnection is called mursal. Really, in the scholars of hadith, a connected chain is called muttasil and a disconnected chain is called munqata'. Then the muhaddithin, the munqata' will be many different types: mu'adal, mursal, mursal al-khafi, different types. Does it make sense? So the definition is a bit not precise, but we'll go with his definition. Anything connected is musnad according to him, anything disconnected is mursal. The real definition of mursal is what?
Qawl of the Tabi'i, when there's a disconnection between the Sahaba of the Hadith, so the Sahaba's missing.
Good. Imam al-Bukhari says, وَمُرْسَلٌ وَمَا مِنْهُ صَحَابِيٌّ سَقَطْ. Mursal is when a sahabi is dropped. Okay, but the correct opinion is mursal is when a tabi'i drops someone above him and attributes the hadith directly to the Prophet. So it's like Ibn Sirin, Muhammad ibn Sirin saying the Prophet said. Or, for example, Sa'id ibn Musayyib saying the Prophet said. He's dropped a sahabi. It's called mursal. Okay? Generally. Okay? Generally. Because sometimes we have what is called mursal al-sahabi. Okay? We'll come to it inshallah. So mursal is what? When a tabi'i drops someone above him. It's called a mursal. Good. So, write it down. The types of ahad is what? Musnad and mursal. Musnad is connected, mursal is disconnected. The mursal is of two types. Mursal al-sahabi or mursal ghayr al-sahabi. The mursal of a sahabi or the mursal of other than the sahabi. The mursal of a sahabi means what? When a sahabi narrates something from the Prophet ﷺ that we know the Prophet, the sahabi never heard it from the Prophet. It's called what? Mursal al-sahabi. Is it accepted or not? Is it accepted or not? Yes. Hujjah, without a difference of opinion. Why? Because this person must have heard it from another sahabi. You know, the sahabi are reliable. So the sahabi taking it from another sahabi, then taking it from the Prophet is not an issue for us. Because we know who took it from it, sahabi. Sahaba are all reliable. So if a sahabi drops someone, we say it's reliable. It's connected. It's as good as it's connected. Example, Aisha radiallahu anha in Sahih al-Bukhari, Kitab Bad'il Wahi, the revelation starting upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aisha, she described how revelation started in the situation of the Prophet, and she would say that when the revelation started, it was like a ru'ya as-sadiqa. It was like a true dream. The Prophet would see a dream and it would become true. And something kafalaqil, it becomes like a ringing of a bell. That's how the revelation came to the Prophet. Now Aisha radiallahu anha, was she around when the Prophet had revelation? No. Scholars, they say she was born after the Prophet became a prophet 4 or 5 years later. So when the Prophet was 44 or 45, that's when Aisha was born. So she never saw prophethood of the Prophet. Where is she bringing this information from? Most likely another companion. If she took it from another companion, what is it? Mursal, Sahabi, and is authentic for us. Another example of this is regarding Ibn Zubayr, that he gave a khutbah and he said, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that the Prophet said, "Man labis al-harira fi dunya, lam yalbasu fi al-akhirah." Whoever wears silk in the dunya will not wear it in the akhirah. And this is Mursal al-Sahabi, because Abdullah ibn Zubayr, he was only born in the time of the Am al-Hijrah, the migration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he definitely did not witness this incident, they say. But he must have taken it from where? Another Sahabi. And if he took it from another Sahabi, what is it? Mursal al-Sahabi, and it's authentic. Another example is Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. A lot of the incidents that Ibn Abbas he mentions in the beginning time of the Prophet's life, he never witnessed. Example, certain things or certain ahadith, and I forgot the hadith, but in Kitab Badi al-Wahi, regarding the revelation of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I believe it's the incident of Heraqli, right? Not the Abu Sufyan and Heraqli. Abu Sufyan, when he goes to Rome, yes, and he meets the ruler, and then he speaks to him and he says certain questions. I think it's Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas was definitely not present in that incident. So it is what? Mursal al-Sahabi as well. No. Mursalu ghayru sahabi, if there is a statement from other than the Sahabi, like a tabi'i, mentioning something from the Prophet, is it a hujjah?
No, but there's an exception.
Which?
It's heading the same.
There's a difference of opinion in this issue. If the mursal is a mursal of not a sahabi, a tabi'i, there's two groups. Then they look at it, who is this tabi'i? If he is Sa'id ibn Musayyab, then a group of scholars, like the author of the book, they say it is all authentic, and Imam al-Shafi'i. If the mursal is Sa'id ibn Musayyab, who is a tabi'i, and he says the Prophet said, close your eyes and take it, don't even look into it. Why? They say he is min kibari tabi'in, he's from the senior tabi'in. And anything he narrates is always connected. Who knows why? Why is the mursal of Sa'id ibn Musayyab connected?
Because the majority of his teachings wouldn't be the Sahaba.
There's another reason as well. You're right.
Was Abu Hurairah specifically?
Why Abu Hurairah?
Because married his daughter.
Ahsant. Sa'id ibn Musayyab married the daughter of Abu Hurairah. So a lot of the times that he drops a Sahabi, it is Abu Hurairah. So therefore, it is most of the times connected anyways. Anyways, so Mursal al-Sahabi. If Sa'id ibn Musayyib narrates a statement and he says, the Prophet told me, and of course he's a tabi'i, he's never met the Prophet directly, there must be an intermediary. They say is always accepted, because every time we analyze, and Imam al-Shafi'i in Kitab al-Risala, he says, I analyze the narrations of Sa'id ibn Musayyib, and all of them were connected. So for him it's a principle. Every time there is a statement of Sa'id ibn Musayyib attributing something to the Prophet, I will close my eyes and take it. Okay? Another group of scholars, they discuss and they say no, it's not taken. Even if it's Sa'id ibn Musayyib, we're not going to take it. Like Imam al-Bayhaqi and Khatib al-Baghdadi, rahimahullah ta'ala. They say no, it's not taken, we have to analyze, and if we find it connected, we take it. If not, we won't take it. If it's not Sa'id ibn Musayyab, is the mursal taken? Yeah, we're not going to take it by itself unless it's proven to be connected. If someone else mentions something, we're not going to take it unless we say it's connected. Yeah.
So is it the only tabi'i with this condition?
Yeah, Sa'id ibn Musayyab, only him. Yeah, no other tabi'i. Sa'id ibn Musayyab, you can say Sa'id ibn Musayyab or Musayyib. Both are correct. The better is Musayyab bil Fath. You can say both ways. Okay? Now, so that is the Mursalu as-Sahabi. Now, tfadal. And again, this issue of Ahad and Mutawatir, it's not the discussion here, so we're not going to go into too much details. Now,
أحسن الله إليك. والعنعنة تدخل على الإسناد. وإذا قرأ الشيخ يجوز للراوي أن يقول حدثني أو أخبرني، وإذا قرأ هو على الشيخ يقول أخبرني ولا يقول حدثني. وإن أجازه الشيخ من غير قراءة فيقول أجازني أو أخبرني إجازة.
Now the Shaykh now he discusses again another issue that relates to the science of hadith. What is it doing in this book of Usul al-Fiqh? It's just put in there. I'm going to find out, you guys going to find out who introduced concept of Mustalah al-Hadith in books of Usul al-Fiqh and why. So this is a discussion of the Muhaddithin, Siyagh Ada al-Hadith, the format of transmitting hadith. You've taken hadith from a teacher. When you mention it, how are you going to mention it in your book? Are you going to say, I heard my teacher say, Akhbarani, or are you going to say, Anba'ani, or Haddathani? What are you going to say? Before that, he quickly discusses an issue called Al-An'ana. He says, Al-An'anatu tadkhulu ala al-isnad. An'ana. An'ana comes from the word an. Ain and noon, which means from. And An'ana, and scholars they say An'ana wal An'ana. Anna fulanan qal. So An'ana, both of them, they have a ruling in the science of hadith. Without making it into a very long discussion, the summary of it is An'ana is accepted as long as it is not from a mudallis. Write it down. The An'ana is accepted as long as it is not from a mudallis. So if a narrator says an from, it's accepted as long as he's not known to be a mudallis. What is mudallis? Mudallis is someone who's known to drop people without lying. In simple terms, he's known to drop people without lying. If he is a mudallis, he's known to do that, we're not going to take his an. But if he's not a mudallis, we will take his an. So if somebody says an fulan, from such and such, okay, they're not saying I heard such and such person say, they say from him. Is it taken or not? What do we say? If it's a mudallis, no. If he is not a mudallis, yes. Now, I'll give you an example. Imagine me being a muhaddith, and I'm a teacher and I'm narrating hadith. Every day I narrate new ahadith, 5 ahadith every day. It's called Majlis as-Sama. You guys come, I narrate 5 hadith every day, you go back home. Next day, new 5 hadith. One day, let's take Daniel as an example, I apologize. Our brother Daniel one day is absent, he doesn't come. So I mentioned 5 hadith. Did he take them from me? No. He was absent. He comes the following day, he says, Tahmeed, what did Yasir say yesterday? What are the 5? Tahmeed says all the 5 hadith to him. When Daniel writes his book of hadith, what does he say? He cannot say, I heard Yasir say. He can't say, Akhbarani Yasir, or Haddathani Yasir. He can't say that. If he says, I heard Yasir say, what is it? It's a lie. If he says, Yasir told me, it's a lie because I didn't tell him. Where did he take it from? Tahmeed. But when he writes it in his book, he says, An Yasir, from Yasir. Now, this word from can mean directly and it can mean indirectly. What is it? It's actually indirectly for him. But he uses the word from Yasir. So from, it gives you the impression that it's directly from me. He says from Yasir. Somebody might think he heard it directly from me, but he didn't. So when he says an Yasir, what does he want to do? He wants to drop Tahmeed and come directly to me. Shorter chain, always better. So he uses this word in order to shorten the chain. What is he called? If he does it, a mudallis. If he's known to do this, he's known to quickly drop people like that and try to use the word an in order to shorten the chain, we're not going to take his hadith. But if he's not known to be a mudallis, he's not somebody who does this action of, he's not lying, because he's not telling the truth. So he's not clearly saying, I heard it from Tahmeed, then from Yasir. So he's just saying from Yasir. So this is called tadlis. If he's known to be mudallis, we're not going to take him. If he's not a mudallis, we will take him. Make sense? That's the summary of it. And this is where the khilaf happened between the two great Imams, Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim. And this is where the khilaf happened. And this is why we say the hadith of Bukhari are stronger than the hadith of Imam Muslim. Why? When it comes to the an-ana, when a narrator brings you an, and he's known to be a mudallis, then Imam al-Bukhari will condition a more strict condition. He will say, those two people must have met. These two people must have met. But Imam Muslim will say, as long as I'm alive and he is alive in the same time period, it's connected. And because he's not known to be a liar, so he's known to be connected. So that's the discussion. And again, I don't want to go into too much details regarding it. But the science of hadith, inshallah, when we come to the book, Nukhbatul Fikr, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So the point is, an-ana, it's a discussion amongst the scholars of hadith. What is the khulasa of it? Mudallis, an-ana, do we take it? No. If he's not a mudallis, we do take it. Okay? And an-ana is the same ruling as an-ana. An-ana with the hamza, which is anna fulanan qal, that this person said. Like he's saying, not saying from Yasir, he said, Yasir said. But did I say directly to him? Or did I say to Tahmid and then that's the discussion. Okay, so that is the first line he mentions. Then he says, and he mentions siyagh ada'ul hadith. إذا قرأ الشيخ يجوز للراوي أن يقول. If there's two possibilities to break this down. Siyagh al-ada, there are many, but break it down into two. Number one, قراءة الشيخ وسماع الطالب. قراءة الشيخ وسماع الطالب. The sheikh reading and the student hearing. How will the student put it down in his book? He will either say حدثني or أخبرني. I'm a teacher, I'm narrating hadith with my voice. You guys are simply listening. I give you an ijazah at the end. What are you going to write down? أخبرنا ياسر or حدثنا ياسر. أخبرنا means what? Informed us. حدثنا means it's narrated to us. You can use both of them. Okay? But if it's the opposite, I'm listening, and just like our brother Ibrahim reads, a student is reading and you all are listening to the recitation of Ru. The student and the teacher is there sitting and listening. Can you say it was narrated to us from the teacher? No, because I never spoke. He spoke in my presence. What can you say and what can you not say? The Shaykh, he says, you cannot say حدثنا or حدثني. He says, وَإِذَا قَرَأَ هُوَ عَلى الشيخ. If the student reads on the Shaykh, يَقُولُ أَخْبَرَني وَلَا يَقُولُ حَدَّثَني. You guys can say أخبرني, but you cannot say حدثني. You cannot say it was narrated to us, but you can say the teacher informed us. You can also say حدثني بقراءة غيره أو بقراءة عليه. So if you read it to the teacher, you would say حدثني بقراءة, my recitation on him. You can say that as well. So according to the author, you cannot say what? حدثني. You can say أخبرني, and he hasn't mentioned, but you can say also حدثني بقراءة عليه. Now, according to the scholars of hadith, you can say both. You can say both. أخبرني and حدثني, and it's not a problem. Okay? And again, this issue, who are the experts in it? The muhaddithin. We're not going to come and discuss and bring it from the usuliyin. So what is considered here is the final opinion of the scholars of hadith. They're the experts in this field. Okay? Then there is another situation. So first situation is what? Teacher reads, you guys listen. Second situation, one student reads, you guys listen. Teacher is silent. The third condition is what? I'm silent and you're silent. What's happening? I pass you a paper and I say, I give you ijazah. Or I give you my book of hadith, I say, I give you ijazah. I give you my whole book. This is my hadith with all of the asanid. I say, Akhi, I give you ijazah. What are you going to say? Can you say حدثني? narrated to you? No, I never spoke. أخبرني? No, I never spoke. أخبرني بقراءة عليه? No, you can't. أو حدثني بقراءة عليه? You can't, because I never spoke. What can you say? What does the Shaykh say? أجازني? أو أخبرني إجازة. You can say those two. You can say those two. You can say أجازني, he gave me an إجازة, permission. Or أخبرني إجازة. You cannot just say أخبرني, because that's a lie. When you say أخبرني إجازة, that's what you can say. Okay? And again, there's a lot of details to this. We don't want to go into too much detail. As a side benefit, Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, most of his majalis were what? Was Imam Malik reading the ahadith? It was the sama'. So the student was reading and Imam Malik was just listening most of the times. There is one student who read to Imam Malik. Who knows? No. Even Imam Shafi'i never read to Imam Malik.
Is it the one who he lashed?
No, it's one that Imam Malik read to him, sorry.
Is it the one who he lashed?
What's his name? Hisham ibn Ammar. Because he lashed him, he gave him the benefit of reading. Imam Malik is the only one who read to him. Everyone else never got the virtue or the honor of Imam Malik reading the hadith to them. They heard it from another student. Which one is better? The Shaykh reading or you reading to the Shaykh? And why?
You reading, because they can pick up your mistakes.
Again, khilaf. A group of scholars say that you reading to the Shaykh is better, because if you make a mistake, the Shaykh will be listening and he'll pick up. A group of them say no, the Shaykh might fall asleep and he might not listen. That's the khilaf amongst the scholars, which one is stronger. In any case, again, this issue of riwayah is very precise. And some of my teachers would say, a lot of the ijazat that we would get, some of my teachers, they would, and a lot of people have become very lenient with ijazat. You have a lot of people that they're getting ijazah from a shaykh, two mashayikh at the same time. It's possible? I've heard of students of knowledge getting ijazah of 2 different books from 2 different teachers at the same time. How? Live stream. Shaykh is in another country in Pakistan, giving his ijazat of a book of hadith. He's sitting and listening. And then he's a shaykh there as well, in front of him. And I witnessed this with my own eyes. In a majlis of sama' of the mashayikh, I'm sitting, and we're getting the ijazah from the shaykh in front of us. There's a brother with the back on the side with his phone on him. And what is he doing? And I asked some of the brothers later, and I said, what is he doing? He said, he's giving ijazah. There's another ijazah there. So, how can you listen here and listen there? It's a problem, right? And a lot of it has just become more of a decoration. I got the ijazah. The most important, what is you understand the knowledge. The ijazah or having the certification is a decoration. That's why Shaykh al-Albani, when he was asked, do you have ijazat, what did he say? لم نهتم بهذا الأمر. It's not important to us. We didn't give it consideration. It's good to have ijazat, but it's not something that I have an ijazah and that's it. You're not qualified to teach like that. Now ijazah, this is in hadith. Ijazah in Quran is a completely different story. So there's ijazah of sama', so you're simply hearing from the shaykh, that's an ijazah. Then ijazatul arad, which is stronger than the normal ijazah, which is when you explain your knowledge back to the teacher. So if I read this book, Waraqaat, to you guys, what can you guys get? Ijazatul sama'. You've heard the book from me with the connected chain back to the author. But if one of you comes to me and then you read it to me, and then I stop you at every terminology and I say, what does this mean? What does this mean? What are the categorizations? And you explain it all to me. Then I give you an ijazah called ijazatu al-arad. You have presented your knowledge to me. That's not strong, that's a tick. That's 2 ticks. The first one was 1 tick, this is 2 ticks. So this is ijazah. And again, there's a lot of discussions on ijazah. Can you do ijazat online? The shaykh is in a different country. He reads the book live. Are you able to get the ijazah from him or not? Discussion. Some of my teachers, do you believe there's an ijazah? Like Shaykh Abdul Mahsin al-Qasim, the Imam of the Prophet's Masjid, he does believe in that. And he will allow an ijazah offline, or online rather, from a different country. But other teachers like Shaykh Salih al-Usaymi, no. When the time for the ijazah will come, he'll say to the brothers in the masjid, turn off the live stream. And the ijazah is only for the brothers who are in the masjid. So only people in the masjid, they get the ijazah. So people have different manahij and different issues that we can discuss in this issue, but again, there's a lot of tawassu'. A lot of people have become very lenient with it. And to an extent, the Shaykh Salih al-Usaymi, if you missed a verse or a line, he says, mark that what you've missed. So if I missed, for example, I was in the Majlis of Ijazah and I missed, and it happened to me and I was very upset. I had to go use the bathroom. And I went to use the bathroom, obviously I missed my Ijazah. The Shaykh was reading, the brother was reading, so I missed that portion. I had to mark where I left before I went to the bathroom, and then I came and marked that section I didn't get the Ijazah. The only way I could have gotten it is I would have had to go to the Shaykh after the lesson as he's walking out and read to the Shaykh, then I got the Ijazah. But alhamdulillah, the Shaykh gives you what is called an Ijazah Amma, a general Ijazah at the end. So the whole book is a general Ijazah, so you just kind of cover it anyways. So there's Ijazah Amma, there's Ijazah Khassa. Which is better? What is Ijazah Amma? Ijazah Amma, if somebody says, I give you an Ijazah for everything. Or I give you an Ijazah of this book. You've not heard it, but I say, I give you Ijazah of Waraqaat. You get the Ijazah. There's no value to it. You've not heard me reading the book, you've not read the book on me, nothing. It's called an Ijazah Amma. Ijazah Khassa is when you heard that specific book from me. It's called an Ijazah Khassa. A lot of my teachers, they would say, some of their teachers tried to give them an Ijazah Amma and they said, Shaykh, I don't need it. I remember Shaykh Mashur Hassan, he went to the Prophet's Masjid, he said, and there's a Shaykh giving an Ijazah. And he said, I give you an Ijazah. He knows the Shaykh, he says, Shaykh is the person who knows, I'll give you all my Ijazat. Shaykh said, I don't need that Ijazah, I need this specific one. So I'm going to come attend your lesson tonight and give me that specific book. So there's a lot. And again, the scholars, they say, can you give Ijazah to an unknown person? I'm sitting here, I say, brothers, I give you all Ijazah. You've heard it from me. But then I say, I give a brother who walks into the masjid an Ijazah as well. Who's the brother who's going to walk into the masjid? We don't know. He's not entered. I say, the next person to walk in the masjid, he's going to get my Ijazah as well. Am I allowed? No. Can I say, I give an Ijazah to my generation, all my children. Every Ijazah I got in my life, I give it to every single of my generation children, the males and the females. Am I allowed? An Ijazah to an unknown person. I give Ijazah to all of the brothers in London. Am I allowed to? No. Some brothers say, I wish. I don't have that many Ijazat anyways, but the point you get, right? So there's a lot of discussion of the scholars regarding Ijazat. Okay? But this is a summary or a section of the Ijazat, inshaAllah ta'ala. Does anybody have any questions? Go to Qiyas in the next lesson, inshaAllah ta'ala.
So what is Ijazah? Is it like a qualification?
Ijazah in simple terms is when you get a connected chain back to the author of the book or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if I have an Ijazah of Bukhari, it goes all the way back to Imam al-Bukhari, a connected chain of narration. So my teacher would have heard the whole of Bukhari from his teacher, all of Bukhari to his teacher, all the way back to Imam al-Bukhari, all the way back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's connected.
So it's like a verbal confirmation.
Verbal confirmation that you heard the hadith from me or you read the book on me. So sometimes the Ijazah is on the book, sometimes the Ijazah is on the Quran, sometimes it's on hadith. So and again, some people don't call that an Ijazah. Some people call the certificate you get at the end of Ijazah. So you sometimes get a certificate, sometimes you don't.
In regards to a hadith which is mutawatir, the Ash'ari they say تفيد من حيث دلالة. So does the Shaykh go against it because it says ما يجب العلم? Does he reject?
They say يفيد الظن من حيث الدلالة.
ليس من حيث الثبوت. So
they say if from the angle of dalala, the mutawatir shows you الظن. I know that you mentioned this point to me before, right?
Yeah, because the Shaykh says ما يجب العلم. So I'm saying, does he, when he says ما يجب العلم, is it in regards to it being authentic or him acting upon it?
And when he says ما يجب العلم, it means from the hukm of it, not from the angle of thubut. It's not the discussion of thubut, it's from the angle of dalala.
So by that version, he doesn't necessarily agree.
Again, to be honest, he's not very clear. It can mean both ways. It just says yujib al-ilm, صح?
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything. Allahu A'lam. He may not believe it from the dalala, just min hayth al-thubut. Yeah, it is. Perhaps you have to go back to his Kitab al-Burhan to see what his opinion is, but he just says what? يجب العلم, صح? No, it's not very clear. Allahu A'lam, I don't know what his opinion is based on just this book.
Confused earlier in the lesson. Can you have an ijma' and ijtihad at the same time? I think with the issue of touching the Quran in the state of Janaba, I don't know if I misheard you. I think you said ijtihad and
Ijma', sukuti and ijtihad at the same time.
yeah, like it's a matter of ijtihad, but it's also ijma'. Is that possible?
No, so it's not, we're not saying there's, so again, if there's an ijma' that is established, you're not allowed to do ijtihad against the ijma'. But first we're discussing and determining whether there is a matter of ijtihad in the first place or not. If it's a matter of ijtihad in the first place, you go to the next step.
I see.
Is there khilaf? There is no khilaf. If there is a khilaf, no khilaf. If there's no khilaf, is it widespread? Then we say it's given the ruling of ijma'. So we're not saying the mas'ala has ijma' and ijtihad at the same time. It's not possible. That's not possible. It's a matter of ijtihad, and then ijma' got established based on that. But once the ijma', if it is established, you cannot then say it's open for discussion. Khalas, it's ijma' now. Yeah. So, okay.
If two Sahabas oppose each other, which one do we take? What's the process?
Yeah, qara'in. Again, if two Sahabas oppose, the opinion of the first is not a hujjah, the opinion of the second is not a hujjah. You look at the evidences, the external evidences. Why would you take his opinion, not his opinion? Again, remember, brothers, you don't go to the qawl of the Sahabi right away. What are you first bringing? Quran, hadith, ijma', qiyas. Then if all of these are equal, then you say, this has a qawl of a Sahabi and this doesn't. Okay, this has a bit more evidence now. And then if this has a qawl of Sahabi and this has a qawl of Sahabi and they're contradictory, first you have to establish they're against one another. If they are, then qara'in, external evidences. If this is authentic and this is not, then obviously you take the authentic one. If this is authentic and this is authentic, then you look at different evidences. Like I mentioned, it may be this is his expertise. It may be that this Sahabi was present in the incident, so he knows, he has no one knowledge. Like the example that we gave in the previous lesson of Ibn Abbas and Maymuna. Ibn Abbas's opinion and Maymuna's opinion were conflict. Maymuna said the Prophet married me whilst he was in the state of hil. He was not muhrim. Ibn Abbas said the Prophet married me, or Prophet married Maymuna whilst he was wearing ihram. Conflict. Which one is correct? Huh? We said Maymuna. Why? Because of other evidences. Like the case of Usama ibn Zayd and Bilal radiallahu anhu, Am al-Fath. Did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did he pray the salat in the Kaaba or not? One narration of one of the Sahabi says the Prophet prayed the salat in the Kaaba. Another Sahabi says no, he didn't pray in the Kaaba. The Prophet must have prayed either in the Kaaba or not. Which opinion do you strengthen? External evidences. So you will look at other evidences to determine. That's your question? If the sisters have any questions, you can ask inshallah ta'ala. No questions? Clear? Easy? It might be super easy, huh? Yes, I have no questions. Okay, inshallah, then there's no more questions. We'll stop here for now. Barakallahu feekum for your time. Jazakumullahu khairah. Anything good that I said is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any mistakes, any shortcomings, any errors is from me and shaitan. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayh. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.